I guess looking back at my childhood, it was interesting to say the least. I don't remember much from my early years, but I remember, or from what I was told, my mother passed away when I was 2 years old. She passed away from HIV/AIDS, so it was a product of the '80s, pretty much, from what I know. But she struggled with that, passed away in 1988 when I was 2 years old. I have an older sister, so she was 7 at the time. You know, didn't know my father, obviously. That's why we're doing what we're doing now. But I was raised by my grandmother, my mother's mom, from the age of 3 through college, and she looked out for me, protected me, shielded me from some stuff, for better or for worse. But I always was, I guess, a little different, maybe. Whether it was just growing up being shielded away kind of from the negative stuff going on, or personally not wanting to get involved in it, in drugs and gangs and mischief. Just being a smart, skinny kid with an eye for computers or eye for sports. I just kind of went to the beat of my own drum, and it led to some hard times, some bullying, or just being picked on. But I kind of did my own thing, and then by the time I got to college, I realized sports may be the avenue where I could escape. Didn't get to play much coming up. I was too little. Kind of in a rough neighborhood, so the opportunities to play AAU or play club ball weren't really there because the structure in the neighborhood wasn't there, and we didn't have a car or anything to kind of get out and go to the suburbs and play. So, when I got to college and saw that I could get involved in sports without really, without having to play, that was a great thing for me. I spent some time working with the Rutgers women's basketball team with Coach Vivian Stringer. I ended up working for our school paper as a photographer, so I covered the women's trip to the Final Four. I covered, some of the resurgence of Rutgers football. I covered Jordan Brand Classic. I covered, field hockey. I covered so many different things and just news events too. But did that for 3 years, kind of getting my feet wet in terms of coverage and doing some freelance writing. By the time I graduated, I realized I either wanted to coach, having been around Vivian Stringer for so long, or to get into athletic communications, having earned some experience working with the paper and dealing with certain folks like Stacy Brand, who used to be the women's basketball SID there. She's now, an associate AD of communications at the University of Pittsburgh. She was my first sports info mentor, if you will. So I actually worked out of sports my first year. My sister had a nonprofit that she ran. I helped out with media stuff with that, graphics, press releases, websites, things of that nature. But I realized that wasn't where my heart really was. So chance meeting in 2010 at a women's pro-am tournament in New York City that I worked at in 2006, kind of changed the course of everything I was doing. Ran into a young lady by the name of Adia Ravel that I saw playing back in '06 and '07. So when I see her in 2010 in the summer, I say, hey, what are you doing? What are you getting into? Are you still playing? And she tells me about this school called ASA College, 2-year junior college, Division I member of the National Junior College Athletic Association. She's coaching the school, and she's just trying to make it there. So I said, hey, would you mind kind of take me under your wing? I'm looking to learn from anybody, go anywhere. So I was just looking for someone to guide me. She said, send me a resume. A few weeks later, in practice, working with them and trying to show that I knew what I was doing. But after that, come to find out, she needed a new assistant. Their sports information director, Tim Salakis, needed an assistant. So they offered me a dual position to do both. So fall of 2010, I started working at ASA, which is in Brooklyn, New York. Did a year on the women's basketball staff, went 17-13, won our region, won games short of nationals. Did really well, just covering the sports at ASA outside of basketball. AD Ken Wilcox saw the need to keep me on the sports information side, so transitioned me to that full time. Still was covering women's basketball through their first trip to nationals 2 years later, and I just did solely SID work for those next 2 years. Saw that going to a 4-year school might be the next best step for my career around 2013, so started making a push to do that. Got connected through Facebook to Siobhan Mansfield, who is now one of the directors of communications at the American Athletic Conference, former assistant SID here at Howard, worked at the SWAC, worked at the SEC. Got connected to her through some of the SID networking groups, Black Sport Professional groups, and said, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Kind of like the same thing I did with Adia. Siobhan checked me out, she vetted me, saw that I was serious about what I wanted, and just started putting me in touch with a bunch of people. And I remember July 1, 2013, sends me an email. Howard job is opening up. This former assistant, Ariel Germain, who took over at Catholic University and is now at Winston-Salem, she was moving on, so there was an opening. I said yes, I'd be interested in it. Got to talking with the head director here at Howard, Edward Hill. We had a good rapport. He saw that, again, I was serious with what I wanted to do. Took about, a month and a half to really get the process rolling. And last week of August, by August 30th, I was here, and since 2013, just been rolling. Me searching for my dad has kind of been an on and off thing. Like you said, I had a lot of female influence in my life, from my grandmother to my sister to my aunt. 3 main women in my life that guided me, teachers, certain things. But as you start to grow older as a man, no matter what you do, you're gonna want to have some connection to people like yourself, whether it's a big connection or at least something. And I would always question my grandmother, do you know anything? She would give me, little tidbits of what she thought she knew. And every once in a while I would do a search. I came up pre-2004, let's say, when social media, like Google wasn't really there, social media wasn't really there, so every once in a while I might be like, talk to some folks, that didn't really do anything, so leave it alone, I remember the last real time that I did a major search before I got to DC and did what I did now was probably like 2009, 2010 before I left.
Was that like through the kind of like the old-fashioned way networking again?
I kind of just went down to the Hall of Records. I had my old birth certificate, but there were no names on it, so I figured maybe I can get the full one. Right. Down in Newark, New Jersey, where I'm from.
Where both parents' names?
Yeah, so I was hoping, get it, there's a name on there, and you can pull it from there, but unfortunately, only my mother's name was on it. The father's side said, not available. Right. So I kind of just put it to the back burner again. But what made me do it now, and to the wide extent that I did it, right before the new year, I ended up seeing this post on Facebook where this one woman, I believe, somewhere in the Midwest or Mountain West area, she held up a sign and said, hey, I'm looking for my birth mother, this is my information, and one of the news stations out there posted it on their Facebook page, and it got a lot of traction. Someone wrote an article about it, and I said, you know what, that's a pretty good idea. You know, obviously my job is to be connected in this new age of.
How big of a role did that, like, did that make it easier knowing that you know, with your job you deal with social media all the time?
Yeah, well, once I decided to do it, I was like, this is the catalyst. You know, if she can get it, and you know, she seemed just like just regular person doing the search, I'm like, I have tools at my disposal that would allow me to make this work. So, like, first, second week of January, I finally just got the paper, got the poster board, pens, whatever, did the poster, you know, set up my tripod, took a picture of myself, and just put it out there. Said, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. You know, got some folks that did want to help him immediately, and some of my friends, family members, work contacts, they all were like, hey, we'll share it, we'll do this, we'll do that. Had a private investigator, former NYPD that's in Atlanta, do some research for me. You know, he did what he could, and we got some leads, but they all ended up stalling. And then it got to the point where I started to re-interview family members and friends that some of the information might have been a little twisted. You know,
Might have been lightly skewed.
yeah, you know, they kind of just.
The story kind of.
Yeah, I needed to tighten up the story, and just the information they were telling me, it just seemed to not be as credible as I thought it was. So, you know, I said we had to ramp it up a notch. So one of the posts that I put on Facebook after that was that the only way to really kick it up a notch was to get some media attention, because then the resources to find people become exponential. You know, they have private investigators, they have DNA genealogists, they have just general media outcries, someone might see it. So I did that within a day or two of that last post saying, I need media help, can you help me? I get contacted by WUSA, and one of their writers allowed me to do the original op-ed of my story that they posted. And then the next day, one of their producers contacted me and did the original piece, the video piece that aired. It got the attention of this one genealogist that worked with the show Finding Your Roots by Dr. Henry Louis Gates. Her and the community of, you know, DNA researchers around her have been a godsend to helping me out. You know, they pushed for me to get some of the consumer DNA tests done through Ancestry, through 23andme.com, through other sites. You know, I recently got some of that information back. They were able to help me decipher it. And through Ancestry, we found a potential second cousin through a site called GED Match that reads your data. We found a potential third cousin. So it's getting a little closer, but you know, I have one more test that I can do that may narrow down some of the male side family members.
Relatives that they may have found both of those were female?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, you know, we're gonna do this other test soon to hopefully narrow down some of like the male side of the family, and you know, I'm hoping to still, you know, get on Ellen, get on Maury, get anywhere, you know, someone that would allow me to get a national reach and to. Yeah, because at the end of the day, it may just be a situation where, you know, I don't know the relationship my dad had with my mom. It might have just been, you know, one-time thing. It might have been a consistent relationship, and he just kind of put it out of the back of his mind. But, you know, I'm hoping to show that, hey, I'm not a loser. You know, I'm just, you know, a young man looking for answers. And, you know, you get it in front of the right people, and then something might click.
Especially like in today's age, just to be this transparent the whole time?
For me, it hasn't been, and it's been tough at times emotionally, just going through with my sister, who's my closest relative,
right.
And her just talking me through it as a protective sibling, like, you know, make sure no one's trying to scam you, make sure you're okay mentally. And I had, you know, a moment recently where the emotions finally bubbled up on me. But in terms of, speaking to people like you and speaking to other folks, again, my job is to deal with the media. So I'm taking everything that I've learned and helping my student athletes and my coworkers and my administrators look good and to share their stories to do the same thing with me. I know that I'm not a criminal. I know that I don't have like a drug problem or, I'm this horrible person. I'm a guy with a bachelor's degree that, is chasing a dream and just kind of wants some closure in his life to kind of move forward into that new age of my life. I'm 28, we'll be 30 in 2016. So, those are things that need to be answered, as you grow up, like you said, as a man, you want to know certain things. So.
Any last message you just want to throw out there, just for anybody, in case this is them the first time them hearing your story?
I would just hope that they could appreciate someone that is seemingly taking such a big risk to do this. Friends, family, strangers have messaged me since I've done this and said, hey, you're so brave, I'm not sure if I could do it. At the end of the day, if you want something bad enough, you're gonna go out and do it. So the only message I would have to anyone else is just, share this story, share my original one. If you're back in Jersey, definitely share it because that's where it needs to be for the most part. And we post up videos, World Star and all these other things that may not necessarily benefit us. This is, me trying to put a feel-good story on, a part of my life that doesn't seem as good at times, but I'm okay. I just want people to get the story out.